Happy Friday, everybody! How's it going? Another week gone by. Merry after Christmas, Boxing Day, I guess. I hope you are all doing well. I know you are all doing well. I binged, especially last night. I don't know why. Like, I was just fascinated with it because I was going over the many copes and excuses that Andrew Tate was making up for his loss. One was like it was his fate to lose. Why was this his fate to lose? He asked. Well, I speculated, and I'll elaborate more about like how if you use PEDs, steroids, whatever, you're going to put strain on your heart, right? And much like this guy who like leaves, as soon as the game starts, you get gassed out in like the first and second round. Oh my goodness! And not only that, right? His technique was non-existent. And I'm like wondering, like, if it's 50-50 for me, like, because he's going on this rant, I think it's like 40, 50 minutes, about how he wanted to give Chase a chance, like he was suicidal for some reason. I'm like, I don't get that in the slightest. Like, you're starting off this fight, right? There's these two guys, and like whatever, they're trash talking each other and stuff. Apparently, Chase took one of Andrew Tate's ex girlfriends or his current girlfriend. I don't really care. And it was just like some kind of like, childish, oh, look at me type of thing, right? And then like eventually like the bad blood started spilling over where, Chase was going more and more overboard with like how he's talking to Andrew Tate. And, for what the things that was coming out of his mouth were what he was saying, like he actually backed it up. As opposed to Andrew Tate, which he never taught Chase any lessons. He basically, I think he barely bruised him, if he cut him at all. I think he maybe bruised his nose or bruised his like upper cheek around his eye area, but like Andrew was cut up, man. Like he looked like Rocky after 10 rounds with like either Clubber or like Ivan Drago. He just looked like he was out of it, and then like again with the 40-minute video that happens, he's just like in front of the camera. He's trying to like get everybody to like sympathize for him, to think outside the matrix. I'm like, stop it. This is how your movement ends, right? Is with you crying like a little baby about your loss, trying to figure out different ways of how you're gonna cope and maintain your masculinity. And like the saddest part isn't him doing it; it's the other guys doing it because their whole worldview has been shattered. Their whole worldview. Some of these guys put up like a lot of money on him and shit too, but like their whole worldview about like what masculinity is, what it means to be a man. Like, he's calling himself 40, and like people are looking him up and checking him on it. He's 39, dude. Like, get off my dick, man. Me, Michael Phelps. You're not our age yet. And this is what I can do. I can compare myself to Michael Phelps because we're the same age. Oh man, but like, yeah, he's calling himself like 40, and like the best part is when he's like, "I'm 40 years old. I've been 10 years out of the ring" or some shit like that, and he repeats that line. That's how you know this guy is gonna be looping and spiraling. Like, this is the crazy riddled area of like Andrew Tate's career, where we all laughed at it when what's his name? Hey Elliot? Elliot Hulse, yeah. So we all laughed at it when it happened to Elliot Hulse. He's just like, going in that experimental, I'm gonna do ayahuasca, all that kind of stuff. But like, to his credit, at least he's trying to like, do some exercise thing outside the box. He's more holistic versus like, take my fucking pre-workout, take my this, take my that, right? So yeah, like we and people still clown him for that, but like still, right? Like at least he was more down to earth than this fucking Andrew Tate too. I guarantee you he's gonna be doing some like mushrooms, acid, um, meth, like clavicular. I'll get into clavicular. Oh, poor kid, poor kid. Poor. Well, he's a young man, and he's going to do. I don't think I don't think so. I don't actually know 100%. I think everybody on the. Actually, I'll just get this out of the way now because it's like whatever, right? So this young man dealt with this like insanely annoying stalker, and like you could say whatever you want about him, like he is like different ways about looking at it. Like I see him out in a lot of ways. Like I want to say like a remnant of like the old internet, but like his way of thinking is like the internet hasn't changed from like the early 2000s 2010. Like he has to know that like the things that he's doing is going to adversely affect them for years to come, and now he is unfortunately, as I pointed out, dealing with the consequences of this. He is attracted the attention of this really highly annoying individual, and I think he passed away. I don't know. Actually, I'm gonna go check. Here at Azure News, we can go check that news. See if the kid's dead. Because everybody's saying that he deserved it. Like the way he died. Well, if he's dead, right? The way that he like was taken out was basically he jumps on the hood of a Cybertruck, right? So that's like one of the more whatever. What the heck? Oh, okay. Um, and he slides off the hood of it, and then like literally gets sucked underneath, and then like he doesn't even like go like more than 5 kilometers, less probably, and he just crushes him. You can hear like the sound of the footprint just you know going over him and stuff. Yeah, that's weird. I never did that with my PC. Did some like boot up shit. But whatever. So everybody in the parking lot. At his back. But it's like, that unfortunate like realization where, and I especially think that like young people are, young people are very much a victim to this because they've been thrown to the wolves. Like in a lot of ways, I think it's what I would label as the whole child actor syndrome, where you have like child actors that very much embody this kind of like weird esque type of like success where they're very much liked and loved in the initial phases of their career, and then as soon as they fall off or they like fall out of favor and they just don't have employment, whatever, this or that, they get like heavily drug addicted, and you see them just wasting away their lives and stuff. And in a lot of ways, like the streamer community, I'm not saying like it's an action react like it's almost parallel like 100%, but it has like parallels to it. Like there are similarities where people in Hollywood, like especially the child actors and then these streamers, put themselves through like unnecessary procedures and like risks for the sake of looking good, entertainment, garnishing your audience, this that. So in the case of clavicular, right, like, and I've seen this a lot with like a lot of attractive men. Like you'll get bothered by like random people out of nowhere, and it's only going to get worse from here on in because we have to address the the issues, the problems that people don't want to address. They're ignoring them. They're like, this guy, he looks a certain way. He's just preaching for his religion, but like if you really want to know like the feelings of most men out there, it's that we're kind of more or less basically the same when it comes to our function, right? Whereas women have the purpose of bearing life, we have the function of giving that life to women and then like providing and this and that. That's like a function, right? And when you're alleviated or you're basically circumvented and like cut off from that function, most likely you build angst and like anxiety. And people were arguing that even back when he was like a teenager, that this Bondi shooter, the son at least, was like radicalized. And I'm gonna take it a step further, okay? Now, what I'm about to say is highly offensive, and I'm open to because I don't want to be right about this because what I'm about to say is going to it's going to bother a lot of people, but I just have to be open about saying it. Now, a lot of people speculated that the father and the son went to the Philippines to have like secretive military training, and not only are the Philippine authorities denying this, right? But there's also this. Well, I was right to be honest about the whole ISIS inspiration thing, where they were not called upon by ISIS. They were not like trained by ISIS or like acknowledged by them. They were just like, what do you call that? Appreciated by them after the fact, but they never claimed responsibility for their actions. So again, this is very much a grievance that this father and son have against these people in Australia, Bondi Beach, the Jewish people, whatever, right? It's a personal thing. So the background of these two individuals is they're actually Indian. So you know, it's weird when people like try to link this to Islamic terror, right? And I'm not saying that like that wasn't the case because they do have the ISIS flag in their trunk and shit. So they were very much inspired by the movement and this and that. But I see it more as and this is where the story gets really dark. I see it as a father and a son, and the father acknowledging his shortcomings in life, his son's shortcomings in life, and they just can't be happy. Now, I don't know whether he has any siblings. I don't know whether he has any other family members in Australia and stuff. So, and I heard he actually went back to India to visit some of his family at some point. So there was that, right? Um, so my theory, right, and I want to be wrong about this, is to the reason why they went to the Philippines. Sex tourism of the the child exploitative kind. Excuse me. Now, for all like people's rhetoric against like the whole anti-terrorism and like this is us, like the Muslims versus the Jews type of thing, even though technically speaking, not only did you have that couple, I don't think the couple was Muslim actually, but the store owner, that shopkeeper, yeah, he was, and he got shot. So this is a 100% an us versus them type of thing because I'm seeing like all around the world that the cancer of having a religion like as big as 2 billion, right, where you can't even account for anybody's actions or anything. the name similarities must drive some people insane. Like, I wouldn't put it by me that like, people have the exact same, surname, first name, and like they're not even related or anything. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, they carried out this attack knowing all too well like how evil they were inside. Like God knows what they did in the Philippines, and I was just like, just watching stories online about like how common it is, especially in the East, Southeast Asia, like peninsula, to have these types of people who even exploit their own kids. Like they'll sell their kids for this kind of madness. So they got to have their kiddie fun theme park fun ride in the Philippines and headed on back over to Australia to enact their day of terror that they planned for days. And it's most likely to empty your mind. It's just like you have a son and he's most likely a homosexual or partially bisexual, whatever, right? And he has an affinity to this Bondi Beach. Both of them do, and it's a pretty famous beach in Australia. I think it's in Sydney, right? So that's the capital, and it's brought up a bunch of times. That's why I know how to say it. It's Bondi Beach, not Bondi Beach. Although I could be wrong. Imagine I'm saying it wrong the whole time. Well, anyways, and this is what this video is all about. Like, we see this over and over and over again. Like the whole clavicular story is to illustrate just how crazy and dangerous it is, because it's funny how clavicular wasn't actually like, he wasn't exactly an ugly looking person, but he did all these things to change himself, and that had such an impact, especially with like within the people of his generation, for him to like have basically a hatred I put against them by like I wouldn't say like it's a small minority, but it's like a sizable like volume of like people who are living in denial that they can't have what they want. They want to be handsome, they want to be tall or attractive or this or that, and they're being met with the reality of like being annoying for the sake of being annoying, right? It's pointless. And we see this with like the terrorist attack too. It's like these people, they want attention, and it's just like when they can't get it, and then the son is this like reclusive, super quiet man. He's so quiet. He never missed a day of work. Yeah, because he doesn't really have any friends, or he doesn't like whatever. Dude, does anybody actually know if he had any friends? Because that's probably like one of the biggest tells that this guy was just like gonna go off the deep end. Because he's just like chilling with his dad. When you're that close to your dad, like something's up. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say that like having a close relationship with your father is like a bad thing, but like your dad's teaching you how to fucking shoot guns, shoot at kids, shoot at women. Yeah. What kind of a relationship is that? And like the wife, right? So she's Italian, and she's like in like obviously in shock. Her son's dead. Oh no, her husband's dead. And then it's like he's not being accused. He is a mass murderer. Your son's a mass murderer. Your son like is gonna go to jail for like forever. And like the weirdest thing is like when you see the actual, like you look at his face, you see the actual picture of him. It's like you could have had so much of a better life if he just exercised and like didn't listen to your dad, and like what I mean, like, but it's like it's hard, like as a former Hindu man, like growing up not eating beef and shit, and then just like constantly being weak in the arms, and like I gotta give respect to any Hindus out there who are like shredded and shit, because it's like whatever, man, it works for you. But like man, like trying to get up there and you don't have any red meats, dude, I could do like so many push-ups, I could do so many sit-ups. It's insane just how athletic I am, and like my body looks like the way it looks, right? But I think like the most important takeaway is how like these weak people always seek out the strong people to either emulate them and like replace them and then like ruin the things that they hold sacred, right? So in the case of like the duality and the loss of like both Andrew Tate and um, Jake Paul, although there was like completely different circumstances, like it all had like the same build up and conclusion where you had like a party, right, which was the antagonist, right, antagonizing this like unknown um, champion or like title holder, right? So in the Misfits case, it will be Chase Moore, and in like the boxing, it'll be Anthony Joshua, right? And then like Tate's just like talking to him like trying to like talk down to him and treat him like he's just like whatever, right? But then like you have Jake Paul, which I just have to point out that like 30 seconds before he got his jaw smashed, guys, he stuck his tongue out. Why would you do that to a professional boxer? And then like subsequently after that, it's just people are crying or like I don't know, maybe they're sensationalizing it, saying that he has brain damage, and I'm just like, but again, like why did you try to pretend to be this person? Like there's you're standing on the other side of the reality that you are trying to mimic. These are actual fighters. Now you can say whatever you want about Chase Moore, and I think that's on Andrew Tate for being such a sloppy fighter. Like no footwork, no nothing basically. Just and the jab game was like you got to follow up your jabs. You just can't be throwing them out like and then overextending and shit. Even if you get gassed, you got to throw them out. You got to get some connections. You're just gonna waste your time. But the fight's over, and I think like one of the funniest ones was when he said that like Andrew Tate, he said that he bet on himself, and he made like a lot of money, and then he had to delete the tweet because he's obviously like lying and shit, and it's that like amazing downward spiral that you get from people like this that have been like so full of it the whole time, And being like a flamboyant guy myself, it's like I've always known what it's meant to feel like the hatred and the distrust of people, especially when you're not even interacting with them. Like I've made it my habit of like not with at least with guys, right? Like I don't really like to look in their eyes for too long or like whatever, right? Because it's just like when you're wearing lipstick, you have nail polish on, you got like weird ass clothes, like people are gonna look. You're like looking at a guy too hard, and you look like that. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna make him feel uncomfortable. At least like from my point of view, right? So I kind of like learned the whole placement in this world, right? Like my whole like reasoning as to why I dress the way I do, but like also the boundaries that I can't just like push past, right? Um, it's over for like. I think like honestly the point where I knew that it was over was when I saw Tristan Tate's reaction when and I believe I could be mistaken about this. I believe he had two interviews. One he was sitting down at the desk with like whatever the reporters and stuff. That was the press meeting, and then went outside when he was going outside, and then like a bunch of reporters and stuff were just like snapping his photos and stuff. And he said the exact same thing twice. I'm 40 years old, 10 years out, blah 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 blah. Excuse. But you want to be something that you weren't. You want to be me. You can't be me, Andrew Tate. Your Bugatti, your money, your pimpin', it's nothing compared to my PlayStation 5 trophy collection. Alright? Take care, everybody.